Dave. Hi. I've been working with English learners for 22 years in the district. And if you've been working with English learners, you probably recognize Kate Kinsella. Or if you've ever been to CABE, one of the CABE conferences, you've probably heard her speak. And we have a quote to start off with that says, in this generation, every student needs to be the contributor, the writer, the attentive listener, and potentially the reporter. While we expect all of our students to be a reporter at one point, less than 2% of daily instruction is dedicated to oral language development. Kinsella tells us that learning is a social process and stresses the importance of language support from peers. So here we have a list of the English learner support teachers in our district. Please feel free to contact us. We're all in this together, even if we can't hold hands right now.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As my counterpart said, my name is Rosalyn Tellez Soto, and I'm currently supporting Hathaway Elementary. And I wanted to thank all of you for your time and attention. I know this is a very busy time, so we hope that the information you will receive will be valuable. We're going to start off by looking at the work of Simon Sinek.
Yep, she's muted.
Rosalyn, you're muted
I'm so
right now.
Sorry. Okay, everyone can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Again, as my counterpart said, my name is Rosalyn Tellez Soto, and I'm currently supporting Hathaway Elementary as one of the district's EL support teachers. And we're going to start off with looking at the work of Simon Sinek. And he's the author of the books Start With Why, Leaders Eat Last, and Together is Best. And here we see one of his ideas, which is the golden circle. And we're going to take a look at it through the lens of educators. The concentric circles that are presented are in the order for us to look from the outside inward. And the first is the what. And as you can see, our slide says, what do we do as educators? We support both content and language development in tandem while maintaining an academic rigor. And the second circle is the how. We do this by collaborating, being committed to high quality implementation, using research-based strategies and high caliber educational practices. And Simon Sinek really wants us to focus on the why, which is the center of the golden circle. And this is, why do we do what we do? What's the purpose? And in history, there have been people like Martin Luther King, Stephen Jobs, and the Wright brothers. And even though they have little in common, they all started with the why. They realized that people who truly buy into a product need to know the why behind it. So for us as educators, we really would like to enforce that, especially for our English learners, it is vital to balance between instruction that intentionally supports content and language development. So I would like to take a moment to turn it over to Emilia, and she's going to kindly share one of her personal experiences of what her why is. And as she does that, if you could also participate by writing in the chat box, what is your why? So please share with us just so you can ground your thoughts for this purpose. So Emilia.
Thank you, Rosalyn. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been teaching for 22 years. And if you've ever taught third grade, and a while back, we used a series that had a story called Pepita Talks Twice. And I realized that I was Pepita, and so were a lot of my students. I grew up translating for my parents, for other family members, for my neighbors. And some of the situations I translated were really important medical appointments and real estate transactions. And so I knew that I had to give my students the best education that I could because they were doing important work out there in their communities as well.
Thank you, Emilia, for sharing that. And I know that her experience resonates with many of us. So if you could
Thank you,
please
Amelia.
participate in the chat box. And we're going to continue to the next slide, but please feel free to comment throughout the presentation.
Okay, so here we have our first strategy. It is a focus and motivational strategy called observation charts. And this is just one way to launch a unit of study. The objective is to focus students' attention on content while engaging interest. And when we are teaching, we want to be sure to use words to encourage our students, keeping in mind that the words we use to encourage can make all the difference in the world to a student and promote social emotional learning and the importance of building relationships. So you can see that there's a couple of examples. For example, you could tell a student, I like the way you use the vocabulary words in a sentence. Clearly, you took your time on this, or thank you for giving your best. We know that language development is a dynamic process, and as educators, we must be patient, provide scaffolds, and really know where our students are. When Krashen talks about second language acquisition, and you probably remember learning this in college, we learned about the silent period. And this is where students are accepting input before producing language. But please don't confuse the silent period for a lack of progress. Okay. This strategy intentionally acknowledges student knowledge and recognizes linguistic and cultural gifts.
The next part of the strategy is understanding the rationale. And this is especially important for us because here in the Hueneme School District, we have a high student population that is currently an English learner or has been in the past. We need to keep in mind that our reclassified students continue to need and require language supports. So this is very appropriate for our learning environments. The rationale behind the lesson design provides a structure and repetition that is based on sound educational research, and it is clearly aligned with the Marzano framework that many of us are familiar with. As educators, we often should keep the end in mind, and this should be as early as in elementary. We need to remember to prepare our students for the 21st century workforce, and this strategy really embodies this through fostering the 4 C's, which is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. The rationale behind this strategy really supports project-based learning. And for our purpose, we as a department have selected content that is aligned with the California ELD standards, with Common Core State standards with a focus on writing narrative pieces for this trimester, and that is also aligned with NGSS and life science.
Hello?
The activity encourages students to actively participate in their learning. And here in the Hueneme School District, we may have experienced many of our English learners have a high social register. However, this lesson design really activates the academic register. So because a student has English abilities does not necessarily mean that they have academic language fluency. This activity promotes transferability of academic language amongst different content areas, and it most importantly provides opportunities for students to lower the affective filter. We know that the work from Krashen teaches us that once the academic filter is activated, our learners are blocked from language input. And this is what we as educators truly want to avoid, because we have research to show us and our common knowledge that when the affective filter is activated, it hinders language acquisition.
Okay, so if we were teaching in person, we could create our observation charts on our beautiful colored paper. I don't know about you, but when I started teaching, I never dreamed that I would be doing distance learning. Okay, so now that we are engaged in distance learning, you can create 6 to 8 digital charts by placing 4 to 6 pictures with a designated writing space on each chart. We want to be sure to use authentic pictures. Those are pictures that connect with a common theme, and each chart has pictures related to one concept. Our sentence frames are intentional scaffolds to support making observations, posing questions, or developing predictions. Okay, this strategy provides an opportunity for metacognition, or thinking about thinking. L1 is encouraged. It validates primary language and uses visual prompts to promote thinking and language production.
So we would like to present to you the suggested delivery, especially during distance learning. So we want to set up our lesson delivery, providing an academic mindset. So we want to start off by giving students a title. In this case, it would be scholars. And depending on the content, it would be changed to scientists, inventors, historians. So you really want to set up that mindset and that environment for learning. This lesson delivery protocol is really a low prep strategy that, that gives us high impact results. We have to understand that the strategy has the direct impact on student success if it is used in a way to promote positive learning environments. The design is based on the gradual release model, the work done by Fisher and Frey. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. And we want to really stress that language practice should be an intentional process. And we should keep an expectation for our students to really use academic language. And I want to share with you the delivery protocol. Like I said, we set up our students with a content title. We introduce the language target as well as the learning target. Both of these targets need to be processed. And what I mean by process is that you go through the important terms, you have students read them with you, because that helps with brain imprinting and also transferability to other content areas. The teacher then presents the observation charts. And as educators, it comes very natural to us to use our thinking out loud skills. So you would use this intentional scaffold so that students can follow along and really have an explicit example of what the expectation will be. We're going to also introduce sentence frames, and this is especially important for our English learners. We want to give them proper academic language models for them to use. And then we see the academic discourse beginning. And this is really, really important because, as I mentioned at the beginning, our students have their social English registers developed, but when it comes to using academic language and the application piece of it, that's where we see the greatest deficits. So if we look at the gradual release model, as I told you, it's the work of Fisher and Frey. And on the left-hand side of the chart, I have highlighted the teacher responsibility. We notice that at the top, we take a priority to set the stage for learning by focusing the lesson on modeled instruction. Then the next step will be shared instruction. And then the next tier would be guided practice. And the last tier would be independent practice, where we release the students to their own work. This activity or strategy is really powerful because it could also be used as an asynchronous activity through the classroom platform that you are using. So I believe for the upper grades, it's Google Classroom. And this could serve as a formative assessment for your ELD's instruction. So please consider using this strategy.
Okay, so let's take a look at 5th grade. And as mentioned earlier, we have our learning targets and large language targets. Okay, so our learning target is to make observations, questions, and predictions about ecosystems, interactions, energy, and dynamic. And our language target, we're going to use sentence frames to actively participate while listening, speaking, and writing about ecosystems. And I think there's more up below, but I can't see it. Okay, so notice that the background is white on this chart here, and that is a cue for teachers to use this to model the strategy. But also notice that we have some beautiful, authentic pictures, and I just have to give kudos to my colleague Rosalind, who put this together using these really great pictures. So while we are using the chart, we have observations, questions, and predictions. And you could model using the sentence frames for students. For example, I observe that the sloth has long claws. I wonder what it uses them for. And then you can have students predict. I think it uses them for climbing trees. Depending on what level your students are, emerging, expanding, or bridging, they would use the different sentences, but this is also an opportunity to explain what the word observe or notice means. Okay, and you can also see that there's directions at the bottom. Look at the pictures, think about ecosystems, interactions, energy, and dynamics. Share your observations, questions, and predictions. Use the sentence frames. Okay, and when you are modeling this, there's a section where you could type in what the students say, directly what they say, dictation. And so if you'll move on to the next slides, you'll see that they are color coded. Okay, this is just a suggested classroom management strategies. Okay, they can be used for your students groups that require collaboration. The colors can be adjusted to whatever you are already using in your class, your colors. This can be easily dropped into Seesaw or Google, right? If you're having them do this as a group, be sure to select a speaker and then you can highlight their name on the slide. It can be assigned as partners, or small groups, individuals, or you can just do it with your group as a group activity. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of the slides. Oh, here's the directions again. Okay, and so here are the color-coded slides. You'll notice that the pictures and the color change, but the observations, sentence frames stay the same. Here's my favorite, magenta. And then at the very end, we have a asynchronous learning activity. It's a video for students to watch. And that also can be put into your Google Classroom or Seesaw. And Rosalind, did you want to add anything to that?
No, Emilia, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, please be patient with me because sharing the screen is not my strength. Can everybody see the presentation that is labeled collaboration?
Okay. Yes, you're back there. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, so we would like to share this teacher's experience with you, and Emilia and I will corally read it to you. And this is just something that we found was something that we could compare ourselves to, our personal experience. So we would like to share with you. Have you ever baked cookies in the oven without preheating the oven first and expected them to be finished within the same time the directions said? Do you remember how they came out? I've done this before because I was too impatient to wait for the oven to preheat. My cookies were raw, not finished, mushy. If I wanted them to taste right, they would need to stay in the oven longer.
I would like to argue that when we don't build background for students, we are essentially doing the same thing. Building background is like preheating the oven. It prepares the brain for the new learning that is going to take place. When we preheat or build background, we are prepared to receive new information more readily. If we skip this essential step, we are risking that it will take longer for students to comprehend and the new learning may not stick.
Research says that when students have some knowledge of a topic, they can better remember it and go into detail regarding the topic. And this is based on the work of Chaisey, Splinch, and Voss. Sometimes as teachers, it is necessary for us to build background for our students when they don't have any.
Years ago, I attended a 6-day Project GLAD, Guided Language Acquisition Design, training. It was then that I was introduced to observation charts. They are a simple yet effective way to build background for students using images and cooperative groups. I love this technique for all students, but specifically for English language learners because it involves the use of visuals and talk. Visuals are one of the best ways, in my opinion, to make content comprehensible, and speaking is critical for ELLs in all academic areas.
Sometimes I don't like to put the pictures on charts. I have them loose and hand a set to each group. In this case, they are called picture file cards. I let the students work in groups to discuss what they see and categorize them in an open sort. This means they get to decide the categories as long as they can defend them. If I give them the categories, it is called a closed sort.
Either way, students are thinking about the content. They are retrieving information they know and preparing to link it to new information. They are hearing their peers talk about it too, and often hearing new vocabulary. For instance, one student may say, "I see a home. I think it's called a teepee." While another may say, "I see a shelter." They are picking up many ways to say the same thing.
Observation charts can be used in all grade levels. I have seen them used in kindergarten through 5th grade, but I know they can be used up to 12th grade. Any area of study would lend itself to observation charts. Picture different composers, instruments, various forms of art, sports, inventions, animals, shapes, countries, etc.
The fact is that observation charts lower the effective filter for students, which makes learning easier. They help to access prior knowledge and build background while working with cooperative groups or partners. They are a highly engaging way to begin a unit of study and connect old knowledge with new learning.
And the educator that shared this experience is Valentina Gonzalez, and she includes a quote that says, "I believe that all students bring assets and values to our classrooms, and that every teacher is a teacher of language." So we would like to end our presentation with this thought. Emilia will talk about reflection and the importance of it.
Yes, so reflection is very important. Here we see the 10-2 rule by Spence Rogers. And in the 10-2 rule, no matter how the students are receiving knowledge or skills, interrupt the input about once every 10 minutes to allow for about 2 minutes for the students to process the learning. A variation on this can be 10 minutes of direct instructions, 2 minutes of individual reflection, and 2 minutes of sharing.
Another popular idea that is supported by the GLAD strategy is the Gots and Wants. And this is also a sub-strategy that you can incorporate into your lesson design. And we're going to practice that with you right now for a few minutes. If you could include something that you got from the information that was shared with you today and something that you would want. So it could be something in regards to implementation, something that could be in regards to additional resources. So if you could please take the next few minutes to include in the chat box a got and a want up to this point, please. As you're doing that, we want to remind you that we've provided you with the classroom resources that can be brought back to your classroom right away. The resources are listed by grade levels in the presentation that Emilia shared with you. And remember that the lesson design was aligned with Common Core State Standards, ELD standards, and also NGSS. So please feel confident to implement this strategy as it take away back to your classroom as soon as you get back there. We would like to share a video of the strategy, and it's 5 minutes long, so we won't go through the entire video, but I want you to see how this teacher implemented this strategy using the virtual platforms that you are all using in your classrooms.
Rosaline, the video isn't playing.
Let's see. How? It says you are screen sharing. So should I put a new share?
You should be able to open and choose. You can stop sharing and then share the video link on your screen. If the window's open, you can choose
I see all of you. It's great to see you.
Click the 2 little buttons on the bottom for the sound, because I did that the other day. I forgot before you play it.
Sound. Okay, so let me share. And it's this strategy. And please remind me, Susana, the buttons on the bottom.
Like when it gave you the option to share, there should have been 2 little buttons on the bottom left.
Okay.
Sound.
It says, no, I don't see that. Maybe Mr. Castellano, if you open the presentation on your side, I'm so sorry.
Can you turn up the volume? I wonder if you have your volume down. And I can try that.
Okay, I'm gonna play just a moment of it and you'll tell me, okay?
Okay.
The
we
sound
can't
share.
hear.
No.
The sound share is on the top. It's not on the bottom. It's where you have, it says more, I think.
More.
Green. It's on the very top.
Yes, thank you. Okay, hopefully now it said share computer sound. So please tell me.
Hi, scholars. It's Mrs. Dellenbach here.
Yes, okay.
We're going to have a chance to do observation charts. So please read the title with me. Let's try digital observation charts. Directions. Number 1, closely observe the group of pictures on each page. What themes do you see? What do the pictures have in common? How are they alike? Number 2, use a green sticky note to type your observations. You might use sentence starters such as I see, I observe, or I notice. Number 3, use a yellow sticky note to record questions based on your observations. Some question starters you might use are what, why, how, where, I'm wondering if.
Rosaline, you're muted.
I am so sorry, everyone. Let's see. I don't know what happened. Let me try to go to the slide one last time. And here it is.
Hi, scholars. It's Mrs. Dellenbach here.
And okay.
We're going to have a chance to do observation charts, so please read the title with me. Let's try digital observation charts. Directions. Number 1, closely observe the group of pictures on each page. What themes do you see? What do the pictures have in common? How are they alike? Number 2, use a green sticky note to type your observations. You might use sentence starters such as I see, I observe,
If you can expand,
or I notice.
open up the video.
Number 3, use a yellow sticky note to record questions based on your observations. Some question starters you might use are what, why, how, where, I'm wondering if. Number 4, use a pink sticky note to record a prediction. Predictions should answer your question or someone else's question. If you have a citable resource to support your answer, please include it. Number 5, remember to record your initials on each sticky note to earn credit for this assignment. Comments are observations, questions or wonderings in yellow, and predictions in pink. Now we're going to take a look at the tools. If you look at the left-hand column of your screen, you're going to see the tools. There's a pen, which we won't be using today, an eraser just in case you put some pen on the paper and you want to erase it, your arrow to select, the sticky note, which we're going to use today. Later we'll add images and we can use the laser pointer. So again, notice the blue arrow is pointing to the sticky note that we're going to use today. When you get ready, you'll go up to the top of the screen and you'll click Next Frame. So the first thing we need to do is look at all of these pictures. What do they have in common? Observe closely because they definitely have some similarities, but there are some differences. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a green sticky note for my comments to record my observations and what I see. Click on the sticky note, change the sticky note to green, and record my observations. I observe animals and plants. There are eggs, baby pandas, and adults. And then click Save. And then you can click Cancel to get out. Now I can move my green sticky note to the bottom. What questions do I have?
Okay, so you can see there that this is student friendly also, so you could use it to share prior to your lesson delivery to your students so that they know what to expect and the expectation is set for them. And then I noticed that there are a lot of questions and comments. Emilia, did you want to address those now?
I don't see them.
Let's see. Would I have to stop sharing, Mr. Castellano?
A few of the questions were if there's a template available for that slide or in that activity.
Yes, so before each grade level resource is a blank one that they can use as a template to insert their specific content based on their instruction. So yes.
Okay. And we posted a link to this presentation in the chat so you all can access that.
And I think it will be beneficial for us to send the template as a separate resource so that you can include that in your shared folders at your sites and have quick access to that. And if you need any additional resources or lesson ideas, you can always reach out to us. Was there anything else, Mr. Castellano? No.
No, I think that was it.
Okay, Emilia, would you like to read our quote?
Sure. May you be proud of the work you do, the person you are, and the difference you make. And each and every one of us is making a difference. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. You know, take this resource if you like and make it work for you. Make it your own, make it work for you and the students that you work with. And remember, there's a list of EL support teachers and our contact information. And please contact us if you have any questions or concerns or need more resources. We're here to support you.
And many of you who are familiar with Project Lab know that it is a very strategic and intentional program. And when we were invited to present today, we were thinking with our current situation and our constraints. So the strategy that we selected was a strategy that requires minimal prep and that you can implement right away. And remember that we're thinking about strategies that really promote academic discourse amongst our students. I saw one of the comments said that many times students don't want to participate. So you could partner up the students as a strategy variation so they have a less threatening environment. And then as partners, they can provide their response. So you as educators are very well equipped. We have had a lot of professional development that has taught us these recommendations. So just keep in mind that this is a backbone structure, that the structure stays the same. What changes is the content. So hopefully you will really implement this strategy. As Emilia said at the beginning of the presentation, we often don't give our students opportunity to have those auditory and oral experiences within our ELD times. And ELD is really a time to give our English learners that platform to shine so that they can bring that back to the integrated ELD classroom opportunities. So thank you, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed our presentation. It was created with a lot of love and with a lot of understanding that you guys are very, very busy and just providing a resource that you could implement right away. So we hope that we will be able to see you all again with the future strategy in the near future. So thank you everyone for your time and attention.
Yes, I want to thank Rosaline and Emilia and all of our English learner support teachers who spent a lot of time preparing this presentation. And like they shared, you know, this is the first in a series. They'll be working on other strategies for you to utilize in your classrooms. So I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon. We get out a little early. Great. If you have any questions, you can refer to your English learner support teacher or you can email Emilia or Rosaline. Okay, I want to thank all of you and have a wonderful, restful weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Dave, do we want to do a debrief?